We could have body aches. Like you said, you had tingles. Also wouldn't be surprised if you had some kind of adrenal fatigue from that, like just feeling
100%.
tired all the time. So you're an eldest daughter. I'm an eldest daughter. I think we're anxious. So we tend to be more empathic, meaning that we feel for other people. I'm afraid of being in social situations. And the big crux here is because I'm afraid that I'm not gonna be able to get out of there and I'm gonna be embarrassed.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Real the Expert series. Today I am here with Katie Morton, who I have been following since the Shane Dawson days. I hate to plug her like that, but that is literally what I found her from. And I was so inspired by just how intelligent she is, how knowledgeable she is about mental health. And I am so thrilled that I was able to have her on for you guys today. Katie is a licensed marriage and family therapist, best-selling author, and one of the most recognizable mental health voices online with an audience of 1.5 million followers and over 130 million video views across platforms. She has been at the forefront of the mental health conversation since 2011, making complex emotional patterns feel accessible, honest, and genuinely relatable to real people navigating real life. So obviously, that is why we had to have her on Real today. We are talking all about anxiety and social anxiety, which if you guys know me and have followed me for a while, this is something near and dear to my heart. We're talking all about how to navigate social situations, how to navigate having social anxiety and regular anxiety when it actually has physical manifestations, and what you can do for support and just to cope. So without further ado, I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. Be sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the YouTube, and be sure to give this a 5-star rating and review so we can do another season. Love you guys so much and enjoy. Guys, I am so excited to be here with Katie today. I have to tell you, I was waiting to tell you until we were recording, but I've been following you since I was the Shane Dawson days were originally how I found you. I'm not sure if you get that. Do you get that a lot?
I do get that a lot. It's funny. I even on the street, people will be like, "Oh my God, you're Katie from Shane Dawson's documentary."
Yeah.
I'm like, hi, yes.
So that's originally how I found you, and I had been following you ever since. And obviously that went into like your main channels and everything you talk about. And I feel like you're kind of the general practitioner of the mental health world. Like you really do cover it all. So I'm very excited to have you here to talk about anxiety today.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much for having me. Such a privilege.
Of course. Sorry for the long-winded intro. I just had to hype you up for a minute. I had to.
I appreciate.
Tell me, aside from obviously what I found you originally from, can you give me a little of your background and how you got into it?
Yeah. So, becoming a therapist from a young age, I always loved being the secret keeper and like knowing the drama, but not being part of it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also always got bored at other jobs that I did, but I find people fascinating. And so that's kind of how I found myself in the psychology space. Then I took a Psych 101 course my senior year of high school and was hooked. I was like, this is what I want to do. Went to college, obviously continued, still enjoyed it. Took a year off before grad school to make sure because I was paying for my own school. So had to make sure I really liked it. Yeah. And I finished graduate school, and my boyfriend, now husband at the time, he comes from a film production background. And he had gone to a conference and they were talking about the power of YouTube. Now this is 2010, late 2010, early 2011. And he came back and he was like, you specialize in eating disorders. At the time I was working at a treatment center. Wow. He's like, and you always say people don't get it. Why don't we just film some videos and you can tell people about it? And at first I was like, absolutely not. That sounds weird. Also, like, isn't it just like cats playing piano? You have to think of like what the internet was back then and what YouTube was specifically. And so I wasn't really interested. And then he just kept sending me people's videos, things from like Jenna Marbles, love her, to Anna Akana. And he's like, people are just talking about everything. Yeah. And he's like, why don't we just give it a try? And so in December of 2011, we recorded the first most cringy video. But you got to embrace the cringe. You got to do it.
That's how it always starts, honestly.
Always. Yeah. So that's where the Katie Morton channel was born.
Amazing. I chose anxiety today. We're kind of going through each episode is like honing in on a different topic that I feel like is not talked about enough. And anxiety, I think on the surface is talked about a lot, but people don't realize some of the things that people suffer from. I know personally I've suffered from general anxiety disorder, social anxiety my entire life. Like I remember having a panic attack in like 3rd grade, maybe 2nd grade, and my dad helping me. So I wanted to just start out getting into what are like the typical anxiety symptoms that people might know, and then what are like the not so typical things that you might not expect, but the way that your body might react to anxiety.
Great questions. I guess the first piece of like what's expected or what is generalized anxiety disorder, for lack of a better description, I always tell people it's uncontrollable worry. We all worry. We all have stressors. You know, you might be concerned about how a presentation is going to go or what somebody thought of you, but this is uncontrollable. No matter how much you distract yourself, no matter how much you try to do, I'm sure you can this resonates with you, that it's just like ongoing and you almost can't think about anything else. It affects your ability to function. That's something that I feel like we don't talk about enough, is that when we are going from something that is like everybody gets stressed, everybody worries about certain things, but when you can't function because of it, that's when it's a mental illness, right? That's when it's like a diagnosable thing. I can't go to work or school, my friendships or relationships are suffering, and I can't focus, right? Those are all big pieces of our life. And so that's kind of the foundation, I would say, of anxiety. I think the things that people don't talk about enough are the physical manifestations. And this is, I'm going to jump in real gross real quick, but like diarrhea.
Yeah.
And I know it's like,
yeah,
but let's just be honest, right?
Like real.
Because if you want to really nerd out, anybody out there, you can look up what's called lizard brain. And essentially what that is like our connection directly from it's like our basic instincts, and that affects digestion so intensely. That's why when we get nervous, you know, our stomach can be like, rah, rah, rah. We might feel overly hungry. Some of us eat a lot when we're, you know, stressed out, maxed out. Some of us don't eat. Our hunger fullness is affected by our mental health. And so that's the number one when it comes to anxiety. I always tell people like diarrhea or nausea, and then sweating. If you just find yourself, and I even get this way when I get overwhelmed and I'm like actually anxious in a situation, I will feel myself sweat. And it's not regular sweat where it's just like I worked out. This is like stinky sweat because it's a different kind of sweat. And those are the things that I find to be the most embarrassing, but the most common when we talk specifically about anxiety.
Yeah. I also, with my anxiety and my like personal journey, the reason I was like seeking treatment for medication eventually, like later in my life, was not only like the gastro issues, but it was because of buzzing in my head, and it was tingling in my fingers and toes to the point where I was going to every doctor thinking that I had like a chronic disease or I didn't know what was wrong with me. Can you speak to like why so many people, I feel like, think they're sick, but their anxiety is making them sick? So I feel like I see this all the time, and obviously you can't like diagnose someone, and everyone's situation is different. There's my disclaimer. But it's so common that I feel like people are sick from it, and they try everything. They go to every doctor. Their stomach is messed up. They're trying different diets, but at the end of the day, it's all coming back to the stress in their life and the anxiety.
100%. And that's the reason why actually your regular or general practitioner doctor tends to see people with a mental illness first.
Yeah.
Right? We could have body aches. Like you said, you had tingles. I mean, my brain automatically goes to, well, that must be like the adrenaline cortisol dump. You know, when you get the tingles after like you ran away from something or you got startled, you get like that jolt. Yours was happening all the time. I also wouldn't be surprised if you had some kind of adrenal fatigue from that, like just feeling
100%.
tired all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times people wind up at the doctor because it's in our body, right? And we don't talk enough about how our mental health affects our body. We still think of them as separate entities, even though they're part of the same being, right? Like our brain is the hard drive of our entire body. So you can't, it's like, I don't know why we still think of it that way, but I even do. And I'm a clinician, so no judgment. But I think that's why, is that because those symptoms come up and we think, oh my God, like I have cancer. Oh my God, I must have some kind of, you know, and we can actually, this is also important for people to know that untreated mental illness can lead to physical ailments.
Yeah.
Like there's studies linking things like Hashimoto's, like immune issues, to chronic PTSD. So people who have trauma that goes unresolved. Chronic anxiety can lead to, like I just said, adrenal fatigue. We've heard of like exhaustion, people having to go to, especially celebrities, they say like you have to go to the hospital for exhaustion, but it's real.
Yeah,
and it
that's
happens.
crazy.
Yeah, high blood pressure, things that we don't attach to mental health, but again, brain is a hard drive of the body. And so if we're having constant issues in our brain, in our mental health, it will affect our body. And if it goes untreated, it can become, an actual physical ailment. Like I have tons of members of my community who have all sorts of different things, from fibromyalgia to like I said, Hashimoto's or other issues like that, all because of their mental health.
Wow. It makes so much sense to me, but I could see how like people wouldn't connect the dots if they're not as familiar with like mental health in general or talking about mental illness. Something you mentioned, the adrenal fatigue. This is crazy because I used to get, and still occasionally, like if I'm super anxious, I get like an anxiety come down. And I don't know like how, like, can you break down like what that is? It's basically like I would feel so anxious leading up to an event. The event would happen. And then I literally felt like I was coming off of caffeine or a stimulant, or it kind of like replicated that same feeling.
Well, of course. I mean, think of, like I said, like you run away from something scary. You go into, let's say, a haunted house for Halloween. That tingle in your your fingertips, that the deep breath in and the racing heart.
Yeah.
All of that is your system essentially ramping itself up. It's like kind of like a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
And you, because of the anxiety and the stress of like an event, especially, like you have all this buildup. So it starts happening. You start going into that like fight flight.
Yeah.
Your body's dumping cortisol, adrenaline, probably norepinephrine, a bunch of other things. You get amped up, you do the thing, and then you come down, and it can feel like coming off drugs, or essentially almost like slide into a depression. I had some of my patients and members of my community say like it feels like I just depressed them.
Yes.
Like after that happened, and I need to like recover for a few days.
Yeah.
And that recharge is essentially because your body's dumped all of that. It's depleted. It has to, regenerate.
Yeah.
And if we go in and out of that all the time, I mean, again, that I think that's going to adrenal fatigue, or what you'd call, chronic exhaustion. A lot of that can come off of what I would call like the highs and lows, or the roller coaster of anxiety in particular.
Yeah. Wow. I think a lot of people need to hear that too, because I know that like when I feel really exhausted from anxiety, like I tend to beat myself up, but I feel like putting a name to it and putting like, oh, this could be what this is, it makes you feel a little bit better about yourself to know that like, A, you're not crazy, like this is real and this is really happening. And also like, I feel like there's a misconception that with anxiety and with mental illness, when you feel a physical symptom, it's not real, in quotes. For people that can't see video, I'm doing quotes. How can you explain to people that don't understand, like, why the physical symptoms are actually physical symptoms? And like why these things are actually affecting you in the same exact way that a physical illness would affect you? Like, how do you prove or explain that?
The best way I can describe it is, when you have a bad start to your day, let's say you're getting ready to leave, and this will make sense in just a second, getting ready to leave for work, and you spill coffee all over your outfit and you have to change. And then let's say you go out and you're like, oh shit, I don't have any gas in my car. You're like, oh. And by the time you get to work, you don't feel good. And you might even be like, I'd just rather go home. Like I'm tired, right? Think of all the effects of just having like things happen to you, how you feel it in your body. Take a minute, because a lot of us experience that, but we do it on autopilot. We don't tap in to even realize that, hey, that person said something mean to me and I felt myself clench my fists. Okay, so something mean was said. That was an emotional response. And my body reacted. Yeah. It's no different with a mental illness. So I always tell people that like your brain runs everything, from your heart rate to your breathing to your hunger fullness to your sleepiness, right? So much of it is mental. Yeah. Like you can talk yourself into and out of a lot of things, and like all of us would be like, yeah. So I give those kinds of examples to people to help them understand and realize, hey, I have emotional responses all the time, and then I feel them in my body.
Right. That's so true. And also you said autopilot. And I think that's an important thing to bring into having anxiety too, because so many people, even I was like this as well. I'm sorry, I like keep bringing myself up, but this is like
you should.
I relate to it so much for anyone else that is listening. I was on autopilot for so many years with my anxiety that I didn't think it was that bad. I was so used to coping that I was numb to it. And then when I went on medication / when I started getting treatment and treating my lifestyle, I realized, oh my God, I was down so bad before. Like,
Yeah.
do you see this with clients a lot and with people a lot?
All the time. I think especially, so there's a couple pieces to it.
Yeah.
Yes, that autopilot happens. It can also be dissociation, which I feel like people don't talk about enough because they think it's automatically like this really intense experience or you have multiple personalities. It's like dissociative identity disorder.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your system gets so maxed out that your brain pulls the ripcord on reality just a little bit to give you space so that you're not like in it, feeling it in the moment. And that space can mean that like, I don't really remember going out on stage to be on that panel. Or I don't remember giving that presentation. I don't remember that conversation I had with a loved one, right? We can kind of just, can't even think about it. Wow. And that's because it's too overwhelming. So that's kind of that autopilot / I'm kind of maxed out, or people say, I just tapped out. I don't even know. That's dissociation. And it's really common because we're so overwhelmed. And then we finally get treatment and we realize, because our baseline has been like, let's say here, and we're like, maxed out. And then it brings it down. You're like, oh my God, wow. Like, then you realize it's almost like when I first got glasses.
Yeah.
I was in, because I didn't need glasses when I was little, like my brother did. I needed them when I was in like high school. Yeah. And I remember driving down the road to my house. I grew up in the very rural Washington state. And I was like, oh my God, I can see all the leaves on the trees. I feel like that's the experience of someone when you finally get treatment, because you're like, oh my God, not everything freaks me out. I don't have to be so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm not sweating. Oh my God. Amazing, right?
Yeah, that's so real. Like, I keep saying that's so real, but it's like everything you're saying is really hitting. I remember when I first went on medication, and we'll like get into that more too, and treatments. But when I first went on medication, I remember literally driving in the car and saying like, the trees look greener, like colors are brighter. And like, I was like maybe 19 or 20. Like, I wasn't so insightful. It's just really how it feels.
So, it was like lights on.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, because your life has changed. Again, like our mental health affects everything. And I know that people like to think, well, I'm doing fine. You might just not be recognizing or tapping in. I mean, I'm a firm believer that everyone can benefit from therapy and support like that. So I think, all of us are doing some kind of numbing out or some kind of tapping out.
Totally.
But yeah, it's like lights on. You're like, oh my God, things are greener. People are friendlier. Oh my God, I love you just have a whole different outlook.
That's so funny. Yeah, like my mom went on medication too, and we call her Lexapro-Pam now. It's the funniest thing.
It's like Pam 2.0.
Yeah, literally, because it's just a little bit of it doesn't change your personality. It's just a better version of you.
Yes.
Anyways, now I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I wanted to talk about how people can approach this if they're not sure if they're on autopilot. Like, what can someone look for if they're like, yeah, I'm definitely an anxious girly, and I'm definitely, I struggle a little, but I'm fine. What are some signs you can look for that you may need to take another step into looking into your anxiety and your mental health and the state of everything?
I'll give you two kind of what I think are key red flags. Number one is exhausted all the time with no real reason. And obviously this shouldn't have anything to do with your cycle. As women, we can have different parts of our cycle that make us more tired. Just tap into that, pay attention. How long is this going on? Is it going on for more than a couple weeks? You're like, I've been tired forever. Possibly. Yeah. Also, second, kind of going back to like dissociation or overwhelm, like, do you not really have full memory of things? Do you get maxed out easily? All right. Do you find yourself kind of like having to recharge after? Like that energy level, that disconnection of self, like just think back. Like I always tell people, like, be curious, not judgmental. I love crime. So I'm like, be a detective. Yeah. Like you're trying to find clues, like when you go into social situations, for example, do you max out? Do you not remember anything? Let's think about that. Do you, after spending time with even the people that you love, do you find yourself all of a sudden like coming back online? Or are you wiped out and you have to recharge? Like, just pay attention to that, because I feel like when it comes to anxiety specifically, we often just assume that that's our baseline. Like you're like, this is just my norm. Yeah. And so we don't realize these kind of hills and valleys that we're going through to manage that, to be quote unquote okay. Yeah. And so just notice. And I feel like energy is like the number one, but then obviously, like if you just don't even really remember, it feels like splotchy at best.
Yeah.
That's another indicator.
That's so interesting. That's really something I've never thought about and I never knew was a sign of anxiety or something. But I guess it's like that mental overload kind of.
Yeah, you're so maxed out. It's not only you're not present, so you don't really remember, but you also have to recover because your body's been like in that fight flight for a really long time. And our nervous system, just as an FYI, is not meant to be in fight flight for very long. It's supposed to be a short-lived, I get out of danger situation.
Right.
But when it, lasts for hours, days, weeks, months, years, we start to get that fatigue.
Right. And then the constant fight or flight brings you back to what you were saying about then actually getting sick. And it leading to those more physical things. So it really is, it shows how serious it is. Like you can't brush things off. And I think if you do brush them off, it always has a way of kind of creeping back in and showing up somewhere else.
There's that quote I love. It's like, if you don't give your brain and body a break when it first asks, it's going to do it when you want it to happen the least or something like that. Because it's like, it's going to do it.
Yeah.
So like, give it a chance, like pay attention. And I always love that because I can speak to that it's like, you're like white knuckling it, getting through, and then you like get super sick.
Yeah. You're like, this is really inconvenient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. So treatments. I know obviously I touched on medication a lot, but for someone that's maybe trying therapy, they're still feeling really extreme. What are other things they can do before going towards medication? Or maybe that is the right option, but can you just talk more about treatment and what that can look like?
Yeah, there's a ton of treatments for anxiety specifically. The most tried and true people are always going to say is cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. Yeah. And the reason is, and this is my opinion, but it's also based in fact, is that CBT is the only style of therapy that is quantifiable. So we can like check that you're improving here and here and here, and we can get numbers to that, and we can say, oh yeah, we're showing that they're doing better.
Right.
Just throwing that out there. However, the piece that I love about CBT when it comes to anxiety treatment specifically is that it focuses a lot on our thoughts and our thought processes. So like, what am I thinking about myself and my environment? And then I need to notice those and maybe shift those into a more balanced place.
Yeah.
Notice I didn't say positive. It's not about negative and positive. Yeah. I have anxious thoughts that are like spinning me out. Like, oh my God, this could be so bad. And this person could hate me. And and a balanced thought is, it might not be that bad. It's kind of in that middle space. So CBT really helps with that. There's also, ACT therapy, that's another anxiety-focused type of cognitive-based treatment. It really depends. I always want everybody to know that when it comes to therapy and treatment, the most important piece is that you like your therapist. That sounds so ridiculous because you're like, well, don't I want someone who's super trained and knows what I'm working on? I mean, yes, that's great. But if you don't like them and you don't connect with them, we find that the outcomes in therapy are not as good.
Yeah.
So it's more about you being like, I like them and they seem kind of cool. And I know it's uncomfortable. It's weird. Therapy's weird. But you should at least enjoy their company somewhat and feel comfortable enough.
Totally.
And so that's really, I always encourage people. And meditation also, I know people are like, meditation, not everybody likes it. I get it. I'm not here to pitch that to you as the only option. But research does prove that with repeated meditation, like let's say like a Headspace app or something, your amygdala can shrink. And that's important because the amygdala, I think of it like the toddler in your brain, like the fire alarm.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like signaling all the time. It's what gives you that like in your tingle in your fingertips and all that stuff you're talking about. And it gets enlarged as we're more and more anxious or more burnt out over time.
Wow. Interesting.
And meditation can shrink it. And so that's why it's really important to consider, meditation, because even though I know it's hard, but that's why I love like a Headspace or like going to a meditation place where it's directive and I have someone that's like leading it.
Yeah.
You can do that. Breathing exercises work for some people. Exercise itself can help. I think there's a lot of also, and I love coffee, so I'm not judging, but lowering your caffeine intake. I know that's a shitty answer, but.
No, it's so true.
I'm just being honest.
It's a make or break for me at least.
And alcohol. That's the last.
Yes.
I know. I'm no fun. I'm just wiping out all the fun. But anxiety is a real thing. So
it is. And I feel like it's balance. It's really balance. Like taking the 2 coffees a day to a 1 coffee a day, like exercising, taking a walk around the block if you don't typically exercise. It's like those baby steps, which people think it sounds stupid, but they're never stupid because they make the world of a difference.
100%. And it's working with you, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to do everything perfectly or compare yourself to someone else.
Yeah.
Like we're all going to do as much as we can.
Yeah. And my therapist literally the past 2 weeks has been having me do, because I used to be a big meditator and I kind of got off of it and I wanted to, I've been needing it in my life again. And she literally has me doing 20 breaths, like I'm breathing in a balloon, just like at the end of my day. So it's so minor, like you can carve out 3 minutes of your time and that's it. And it does make a difference. It kind of feels like you feel the physical effect right away.
Totally. There was one, Huberman on one of his podcasts had talked about the double breath in. And it's like where you breathe all the way in and then you breathe again at the top.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're so full of air and then you breathe out. And if you do that, you can feel the release. And he said it's because our brain and body like to release the carbon dioxide. So it's like it's getting it out of our system and it feels some relaxation. So that takes less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Another way to kind of soothe yourself.
Yeah. And then what about with medication? I know like there's a lot of people that are really afraid of it. I'm very pro if it works for you. When do you know that like it's time to maybe see a psychiatrist?
Yeah, not a doctor, not a psychiatrist,
Yes.
a therapist. Yes, I just have to like my disclaimer.
Yes.
I always will recommend it to my patients if I've been working with them and I just feel like we've gotten to this plateau place where we were making progress. Like, okay, we have some tools, you're journaling or you're meditating, you're feeling somewhat better, but you're still not functioning at the level that you want.
Yeah.
And we've been trying stuff and I'll always say, you don't have to, no one has to go on medication.
Totally.
But I feel like there's such a stigma around it when we wouldn't think the same if it was, I have diabetes and I need medication.
Right. I have strep throat.
Yes, you wouldn't. And I don't know, we need to start thinking about it like that. Like this is like strep throat. This is like having diabetes because it affects your whole body. And so seeing a psychiatrist is going to be great. Always ask questions about side effects. Make sure you're comfortable with what you're going to be on. And then also make sure you give it a good try. I have too many people, especially in my community, who are like, I've been on everything. And I'm like, how long? And they're like, well, I was on this for 2 weeks. I'm like, it takes about 4.
Yeah.
I know that's a shitty answer again, but like, I want to make sure we're really giving them a try because you might need to increase the dose and just work with your psychiatrist, let them know, or at least let your therapist know. And then we call and we let them know.
Yeah.
So that we can get you the right treatment. But if you feel like therapy's gotten you as far as it's going to get you and that's not where you want to be, medication should be part of the plan.
Yeah. What about someone who is diagnosed or feeling anxiety? I actually have a friend who at 28 years old started having panic attacks. He had one panic attack and that led into a world of him having anxiety when he never had it in his entire life. For someone that's suffering from anxiety for the first time, maybe in adulthood, how do you direct them with that? Like, even if it comes to just coping day to day, what are some things that they can do? How can they talk to themselves? What can they do?
Yeah, I think it is always a shocker when people feel like this came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I would always argue there was something there, but we had other ways of managing it, healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah.
And panic attacks can be really scary. They feel scary.
Yeah.
Once you have them, I think an important piece for people to understand is that once you have a panic attack, the reason that they keep happening is because we worry about another one happening,
100%.
which I know is like so annoying, but that's like the nature of it. And so they can like feed into itself and it becomes like this snowball. Yeah. And so if anybody's in that situation where they're like, what the heck is going on? Oh my God, how did this happen? I always tell people, be curious, not judgmental, consider what you were going through and what was happening, how you're doing currently. And I mean, it's just like any illness. The flu can hit us at any time. Yeah, things can happen. You're not broken. Nothing's wrong with you. Let's just get some tools. Let's reach out for some support because things can get better. It's no different if you have your first panic attack when you're 50 than if you're 19 or even 7. I have a friend of mine who remembers having he swears it's his first panic attack when he was like a baby. He remembers like clutching the carpet.
Wow.
So it can happen any time in our life. And I don't want anybody to think that there's any judgment because of that.
Yeah.
I want you to know that there's treatment available. It happens for a reason. It is helpful for us to be curious about where it came from and what kind of triggered it so that we can take that information as we get support and that can help us prepare so it doesn't happen again.
When you have that PTSD post like panic attack and then you're freaking out about future panic attacks, what are things that you can like say to yourself or help yourself when like to talk yourself down?
You have to let me know if these are helpful. These are the ones that I offer. Okay, I haven't had a panic attack myself. I mean, knock on wood. Let's not set myself up for a future.
Knock on wood.
I don't want that in my life.
No.
But I always used to tell people, and I tell my community this all the time, is that know that the average panic attack only lasts about a minute to 90 seconds.
That is helpful.
And I know that feels in the moment like a really long time, but also just be like, I'm already in it and it's going to be over soon. You know, sometimes that's just helpful because if you feel like I'm going to die, I'm drowning, I can't breathe, you know, there's all these like, panic
You're like,
thoughts.
I'm having a heart attack.
Yes, I'm like dying. Like that's what,
Yeah.
Like I don't even mean to laugh, but like that's the feeling.
Literally, yeah.
Like so, just telling yourself it's almost over.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. Say it's almost over,
That is helpful.
and that can kind of like help pull you out of it. I also like sometimes tell people like stop fighting it.
Okay, that's No, I think that's good advice.
Because the more we fight it, I feel like the longer it lasts, or the more uncomfortable it is at the
Yes.
very least. And then the last thing I always tell people is like, if you struggle with these, if you're going into a situation that already feels a little anxiety provoking, let's have a support person. Have someone who kind of knows how to help us.
Yeah, I love that. And someone who might be familiar with anxiety or panic is super helpful. Like I know with my friend, when he was going through it, I was like, okay, you're just going to talk to me when you're going through this, because it helps for someone to be like, you're not having a stroke, you're not having a heart attack, you don't need to call 911, we're going to sit here and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and you can even make eye contact and like breathe with them can sometimes slow them down. Like I used to do that with my patients who would struggle with panic and then they'd dissociate. I'd be like, we're breathing, you know, really dramatically. And it kind of, then you check in, you're like, oh my God, because we tend to hold our breath or breathe really shallow. And so it can kind of, having someone who knows what works for you. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Might be touch, might be nothing, you know, so
So I want to talk about more like people kind of suffering from more general daily anxiety. You talked about politics and the state of the world in one of your videos, and how to kind of like deal with that when it's making you so anxious. Can you speak to that a little? Because I thought it was really, we're diving into every political thing head first, which I understand because I do this. I get very angry, I get very riled up, but then it's causing distress. And it's like, where do we draw the line and how do we talk ourselves down?
Yeah, and also we have to remember media gets more clicks and more views, the more amped up we get.
Yeah.
So it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
The best things we can do, there's quite a few, so I'll go through them quickly. The first is to limit. That's the obvious one. Like, I know we want to be informed. I'm not saying be ignorant, but I'm also saying like recognize that this isn't good for you.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not consume everything. It's okay. You know, would you be mad at someone because they didn't consume, you know, they didn't know everything?
Right.
Probably not. So there's that limit. And also just checking in with yourself before and after engaging with social media or media in general. How do you feel?
Yeah.
So that's the first piece. Then the second, and this is going to maybe sound weird to people, but take action where you can. I find that most anxiety, like, or even mental health type symptoms come out of freeze, which is that like helpless space where you're like, I can't do anything to make this better. I'm just totally helpless and hopeless in this situation.
Yeah.
If there's something you can do, and I know you might be saying, Katie, it's the news. Like, what can I do? You could volunteer at your local voting station. You can talk to your local congressman or women or your city council or whoever. Like, you can do that stuff if it's important to you.
Yeah.
If even me saying that, you're like, I don't want to do that. That's not the action that you take. The action you take might be getting off your phone, taking a break from social media, or journaling about what came up for you. I also find that after I engage with something like that and I feel myself getting riled up, I love a 90-second break where I breathe and then I shake out like a dog.
No,
And
I like
know
that.
sounds so weird, but like you get cued up. Almost like, I love that you said tingles in the fingers, because it's like that experience of like so much.
Yeah.
That's queued up energy in your nervous system and it needs an outlet.
Yeah.
And so that outlet could be just this like, oh, get it. Oh. And we breathe. 90 seconds is the amount of time an emotional response lives in your nervous system if you don't engage with it again. So if I don't go back to it and I'm like, that son of a, I can't even believe, if I don't do that, I can shake it out. I can actually just let it pass by.
Yeah. That's really helpful too when it comes to like seeing a hate comment or seeing a post that you don't like and all you want to do is engage with it. And I think
Always.
For me, even I'm very emotionally charged. I mean, aren't we all? But I find myself to be like, I see something online and I'm like, post in my story. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. This is not right. And then it's like, but then you're asking for that dialogue to continue and then make you more anxious. So it's like
you're retouching it again. 90 seconds, you'll feel it. 90 seconds, you'll feel it over and over.
Yeah. But it's also like, why do people feel the need, I guess, mentally, like from a like mental, emotional standpoint, why do people feel the need and feel that it's doing something for them to post online about certain things? Is it a control thing? I'm just curious.
It's that action. You know how I said take an action?
It's them taking action.
Yes, even though it's not helpful, I don't think it's really healthy, and it actually doesn't do anything. Like, I know that sounds really judgmental. I don't mean it that way, but like people posting memes about politics isn't helping policy. Like, I know they think it's doing something. I don't really think it is, but they feel like they're taking that action. You know, it's almost like being an armchair expert. Like I'm a couch, protester.
Yes,
and you're like,
literally.
okay, good for you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why people do it, and it's also why we keep engaging with it, right? We keep seeing it, and then it's posted. It's like it's just the snowball effect of it.
Yeah. No, I think it's helpful to hear just because so many of us like. Just with how the world is, I know I feel like I have to constantly put my thoughts and my feelings into everything. And I do think there's a certain point where it becomes like emotionally taxing. And I think people sometimes need permission to be able to take a seat for a minute. You don't need to contribute to every single thing if it doesn't serve you.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. And then we ride the roller coaster of what we're digesting online. And that's part of the reason why I personally have like, every time I see anything political, this isn't even right or left. This is like, I don't want to see any of it.
Yeah,
I just say like, show me less.
Yeah.
And so my feed is like dogs doing stupid things. I follow like a guy who cuts like cow hooves, Nate the hoof guy. I love Nate the hoof guy.
I've seen that actually.
I love Nate the hoof guy. And then just people doing funny, weird things. It's like, it's become what I want it to be. And I encourage everybody to try to do that, because the thing about that is the less we engage with that kind of like rage bait content, the less they'll create it, because it won't get traction.
Yeah. And like, it doesn't mean, because I'm very like, stay informed, I'm outspoken, and that doesn't mean don't watch the news, but it's like, there's a difference between watching main news sources and watching someone random on your feed that is saying something super emotionally charged.
Totally. And also hearing it constantly.
Yes.
Like we can all watch the news in the morning. I always tell my audience, I'm like 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, and then cut it off.
Yeah.
You know, because if it becomes all you ingest, then of course you're going to be overwhelmed. Of course you're going to be like spiraling and ruminating and thinking the world's going to end, because that's all you've allowed yourself to digest. You didn't see that guy who helped this woman take her groceries to her car, or the nice thing that this person said, or this cute little kid, or whatever. You're only seeing that stuff. And we're not programmed to, like, we're not built to deal with that much of it.
Yeah. When you think back to the past, in history, we've never seen this much information so quickly. So I can only imagine how much that affects our nervous system and our mental health.
Totally.
Yeah. When it comes to friends and family and dealing with kind of like any fallouts that you might have, and when that causes you anxiety, what is a way that we can handle our anxiety in those situations? And also, how do you know when it's time to cut it off? Like, what is the point when, I'm feeling really anxious around this friend and around this person? Where's the line? How do we know when it's time?
Great questions. The first piece of like, how do we manage it?
Yeah.
I find in relationships, when it comes to anxiety, it's like two-pronged approach. First is, I need you to take a beat on your own. Like that 90-second break. I need you to breathe, maybe journal for 5 minutes, and then respond. right? Give yourself a minute. I want you to respond, not react.
Yeah.
Because when we're reacting, I do a type of therapy called dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT.
Yeah.
And a piece of that is wise mind and emotion mind. And we shouldn't make decisions in emotion mind. We should always move into wise mind. And that means that like emotions, that reactivity, that I have this thought and it needs to get out immediately. We want to take a beat, decide, okay, then I'm going to say this. So that's wise mind. We want to respond. So that's the biggest like thing I can tell people if you're having a tough time to do that. And then the second kind of pronged approach with anxiety is practice what you want to say to them and communicate. Most of our anxiety lives in the uncommunicated stuff. So we worry and we don't have answers because we don't ask and we haven't said anything. And, you know, it kind of like spirals into its own when it probably wasn't anything. I share this story all the time, but a good friend of mine, I used to think she like hated me when I first met her. And I made up this whole story that like, I guess maybe I must have said something she didn't like, or I don't know. I had no, but I worried so much that I was like, if I saw her at a party, I'd like avoid her. So she probably thought I hated her.
Right.
Then flash forward like 6 months later, we're in a green room together and she's like, oh, you know, if people ever thought that I was like being rude to them, I'm probably just having a panic attack. I have wicked social anxiety. And I was like, I made up this whole story in my head about you hating me. Like, so communicate. Talk to people, ask questions, get clarification.
Yeah.
That's the first piece. The second, so when your relationship is kind of shitty and you're like, should I cut it off? Check in and first ask yourself, have I communicated clearly with them? We're going to check in with that because if we have expectations that are not communicated, they're just resentments in the making. And then we actually don't have anybody to blame for those except for ourselves. So I know that's some tough love, but like, did we communicate?
Yeah.
Are we giving them a chance to fix the behavior? Because maybe they just don't even know.
Right.
And if not, if we've already communicated, let's say we've talked to them a zillion times, you're like, oh my God, Katie, this person's just brutal. And we still feel bad and we find it, there's no benefit to the relationship really. We don't feel any benefit. We actually just feel guilty, like we should. If we're shoulding on ourselves, that's the time when I would consider whether it's worth keeping or not.
That's interesting. I also want to go back to what you were saying about wise mind and emotional mind. I always think about this for myself, just like whatever I'm going through, even when it comes to like having an anxious day, my like emotional mind is like, maybe we'll have a glass of wine and like whatever. And my wise mind is like, okay, maybe let's go meditate instead. And then they're battling each other. When you're in the battle, how long does it usually take to recenter yourself? How, like, what, because I think there is a time frame, and I know this from my therapist, like there's kind of that time frame where you kind of have to sit and then it's the feeling starts to go away a little bit. But how long does that take and what are you doing in that in between? So I know you said journaling, that was one thing.
Yeah. Even just taking a break, like not doing anything, not on your phone. Not, just breathing, sitting with it. Taking a real beat. Honestly, if you can pair that with movement, even better, because there's a ton of research you can look into somatic experiencing or somatic work, where like the movement of something while you think it through is really helpful. So like take a walk around the block. If you have a dog, take them, I think that's really helpful. For most people, I would say, it depends on the severity. But I would say, I always tell my patients to give me 30 minutes, which I know sounds like a lot, but the first 5 is really the biggest key. If you can like chill for 5 minutes and not react, we'll be good. But I always tell, like, whenever I'm putting together what I call, like, I don't know if you want to call them safety plans or impulse logs, I always say like 30 minutes.
I think 30 minutes it's like enough time that I can see the end. Like, that you can, I feel like longer than that, it's really hard to be able to sit with your thoughts. But I think that's a really good kind of like goal to get to.
Yeah, totally. And I always tell people, like, have things you're doing in those 30 minutes, right? Like when we put together like distraction plans or something, it's like we're journaling for 5 minutes, then maybe we're calling a friend, maybe we're going for that walk. Like you can see 30 minutes gets eaten up real quick. And then I always say, if after that 30 minutes you still want to do the thing, I give you full permission, because we've hopefully come out of emotion mind and we're in wise mind. And I honestly, there's been maybe 1 or 2 who are like, I did it anyway. But most people are like, I'm glad I took that break. And it doesn't take the full 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you actually feel like you're in a better state of mind to make a good decision, you don't have to keep doing that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I always tell people if you can hang for 5, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd give yourself like, you know, 10 gold stars.
No, that's good to know. So it doesn't need to be the full amount. You can kind of just sit there for what feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, you have this phenomenon, let's call it eldest daughter syndrome. I am an eldest daughter, and I have a theory, and I am convinced that eldest daughters hold in more anxiety. And my little sister also suffers from severe anxiety, so like, I'll be real about that. But I think the way that eldest daughters deal with anxiety is different. I think they kind of tend to hold things in for longer, they want to hide those emotions. They want everyone to think everything is fine. Is there any validity to my theory?
I think you're correct because, so eldest daughter obviously is not like a diagnosable thing. I can't like look at the list and be like, yes.
And maybe after you can say a little bit about what it is too.
Yes, happy to do so. Yeah. So you're correct. I would say you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
And it's because as an eldest daughter, we are the emotional Sherpas for our family. We're the ones doing all of the emotional labor often. And we can be like the third parent or the second, you know, if we have a single parent household. But if we have both our parents, we're often the third. And so that means that there's nobody really caring for us. We're caring for others. And so when we feel anxious, upset, stressed out, whatever, we often have that thought of like, I'll deal with it myself because I have to.
Yeah.
We can be what I call like toxically independent, which I am this, where I'm like, I can't count on anybody else, so I'm going to do it all myself.
Yeah.
Which is it's taken me a lot of work in therapy to like try not to do that. I still do sometimes. And I still have that thought where I'm like, I feel like I'll just force it.
Yeah.
I'll do it all.
Me too.
Like there's this meme where it's like, when I tell people I can ask for help and receive it, and then it says actually me, and it shows the woman like moving furniture and it's on a rolly chair. Have you seen her?
No, but like that's like very relatable for me at least.
Yes, she's got like a couch and half of it's on a rolly chair, and she's like moving it down like Fifth Avenue. It's hilarious.
Yep.
So I feel that, and it's because we don't feel like we can count on anybody else, and so that's why I say you are 100% correct. For anybody who doesn't know what an eldest daughter is, I mean, it's just like what it sounds like. The oldest daughter in the household. I'm the only daughter, so I have an older brother, but I'm the girl.
Yeah.
So it definitely is still that role, which I know people are like, but you're the youngest. I'm like, I'm the only girl, dude.
But
so,
emotionally,
I did all that stuff.
yeah.
And like, I still cared for him. I'd like make him like food after school, even though I was like almost 4 years younger. It's just crazy. And so the eldest daughter is essentially the oldest daughter in the home who does a lot more of the parental work for their other siblings and even their parents sometimes. So other people can call it like being a parentified child, where you might make sure that your siblings get up in time for school. You might make breakfast. You might check in on their homework. You might know they had a bad day and be like, how are you? And you feel somewhat responsible for that. And you might even think like, I don't have any, there's no space for me to have problems. I need to give it to them. So we tend to put our problems second, other people's first. And this obviously follows us into adulthood, and we tend to pair up with other people who are lower functioning so we can over function because that's the role that we're so comfortable in, even though it's fucking exhausting. So that's what eldest daughter is in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I connected so much to like anxiety and even my social anxiety too, just because we're so, I feel like, riled up all the time with everything that we need to do and everyone that we need to show up for. So I feel like it really connects a lot. And then speaking of social anxiety, I personally also struggle with social anxiety. I know like when you have general anxiety, it can go hand in hand. But can you talk a little bit about what social anxiety actually is, like clinically? Yeah,
and I can actually walk you through the diagnostic criteria. I'm all prepared here.
I love that.
You know,
I'm going to have to take that class next semester. I'm in school for social work right now. So my DSM class is next semester. So this will help me.
Oh, amazing. Yes. So social anxiety in like short summation is essentially like what it sounds like. I'm afraid of being in social situations. And the big crux here is because I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to get out of there and I'm going to be embarrassed. Like something embarrassing is going to happen. People are going to judge me. I feel like a lot of the worries that we have when we have social anxiety is that I'm going to do something stupid or they've noticed I don't know what to say or any number of things like that. Like I sound so stupid is probably what I hear the most.
Yeah.
And we're afraid to like speak up. And so being in situations where we have to interact with people feels overwhelming. And so diagnostic criteria is that we have a marked fear or anxiety about a specific situation, like social situation. And this situation makes us feel anxious and fearful, and we wish it can't be avoided. We have to endure it. So like if we don't avoid the social situation, we have to endure the anxiety. There's no way out. It's not like, oh, I can go into this and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And so that's in a nutshell what it is. And we feel, again, it impairs our ability to function.
Right.
That's always, you'll notice when you get into your DSM class that every diagnosis has this, it says, it causes clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. That's every
single diagnosis.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now I know to look out for that.
Yes.
So for people that are thinking they might have social anxiety, but they're not sure, what are also some physical symptoms? I know we talked about with regular anxiety having physical symptoms. For me personally, the social anxiety also manifested physically. So my face, I would feel okay. Like I knew that I was anxious maybe a little, but it would just appear on my face. My face is bright red all of a sudden. And then someone says, your face is red. And then my face turns more red. And then I want to die. So that's just like a little tidbit example of what would happen to me. But what are some other kind of like physical manifestations?
I think with social anxiety, I mean, I guess this could happen in general as well, but specifically I've heard a lot that there's like this buildup. Like if we know we have to be at an event or a party of some sort, the buildup of it usually starts about a day, even more sometimes, but at least a day in advance, where we start to feel more queued up. And what I mean by that is essentially like, we'll think of it and we'll get a knot in our stomach, our breath will shorten, we can start to sweat, our face can get red. Those things are already happening even when we're not at the event because we know it's coming up. And again, going back to like that phobia, because it's actually called social phobia, is that I have this like marked fear of social situations. So if I know I have to be in one, I'm like already scared just thinking about it. It's like already giving me anxiety. And so that happens. And then the one that I hear the most is again like digestive in a way where it's either like I have to pee like 1,000 times and I just can't stop, like I just don't, and it just feels you're like, oh my God, or then I have to poop or something, you know, it's like uncomfortable, things like that. And then the sweating, so many people will be like, I don't want to shake hands because I'm like so sweaty, and so they're like, excuse me, you know, like it's just so uncomfortable. I think those are probably the ones I hear the most, but also one I think key piece that kind of makes it feel worse in the moment is that our thoughts start to race. And so it can be really hard for us to have conversations and follow them because we're so worried about, like, you're worried about your face being red, or am I breathing weird? Or maybe you just start to like panic essentially. And then you can't even, then you're like, I don't even know what they said. And they're like, Katie, and they turn, I'm like, shit, I don't even know what's happening. And then you feel even more, it's like, it just builds on itself.
And I think also something that I take away from what you're saying is the constant mental dialogue that you're going through. While someone without social anxiety, their brain might be a little quieter while they're in these social situations.
100%. It's those racing thoughts that come along with anxiety that kind of impair us in the moment.
And then with treatment, is it similar or the same as regular general anxiety disorder, or are there different approaches to when someone has maybe just social anxiety, or do they kind of always occur together?
They don't. I mean, I would assume there is quite a bit of overlap, but I wouldn't say they always occur together. And I know that specifically when it comes to like a phobia, so something specific, like social phobia, we would do exposure therapy. And I know everybody just like hid under their desk. It's like so uncomfortable, but we do find that if we expose ourselves to the thing we're scared of, like social situations, little by little, and we have things that calm us down, that's really important, but we slowly, notice I didn't say just jump right in, but you slowly expose yourself to prove to your brain and body that it's okay, that like these things don't have to be scary. We'll start to have what we call like reparative experiences. So like I went to this birthday party and I actually had a good time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, right? And then I would tell you, if you were my patient, I'm like, I want you to write about that. Tell me how it went and tell me how you felt. And like, let's get this down so that we can refer to it when you try again.
Okay.
You're like kind of like reprogramming your brain to be like, I can go into social situations and I can be okay.
What's like a mini thing that someone can do if they've been feeling super socially anxious that isn't like a birthday party or something that feels so overwhelming? Like what's like a mini step that they can take?
This might sound silly, but I had a patient that this was her homework for a while, was to walk to her local coffee shop, make eye contact with someone and say, morning.
It's kind of scary when
steps. It is, but it's like in steps. First was to make eye contact.
Yeah.
It took a couple of weeks. The next was to do this, a little wave. If you're just listening, just put your hand up like, hi. Do that. And then the next was to say morning. And that for people who don't have social anxiety, they're like, that's so simple. Yeah. No, that can, like it took us probably 2 months to get to that point, just little by little. And the first piece we always do too is just imagining ourselves doing it, because it removes the actual being in the present moment doing it. We're just like in our mind imagining it happening.
I love the visualization. And we talked about this in another episode too, but I think it's so key in situations that you're worried about. Just like literally visualizing yourself doing the act the night before or a few hours before.
Yes, exactly. Think about it. Like professional athletes visualize themselves like winning the game and doing the thing.
Yep.
It helps everybody. It takes off the pressure. It makes us, our body and brain don't know the difference between real life and visualization. So, visualize it going right.
Yeah. My sister and I posted a TikTok a few weeks ago where we basically were saying that we were spiraling after going to a dinner party because we thought everyone hated us. We both suffer from social anxiety. How do you talk yourself off the ledge from one of those situations? Because I know so many people that even like in the group chat, you put something in the group chat, no one responds to you. Great, everyone hates me. What am I supposed to do now?
Totally. You're like, bye, I'll leave, remove myself from the chat.
Yeah, like how am I supposed to talk myself down? And how do I know if I'm crazy or not? Like, what's real versus fake?
In anxious brain, most of it's fake, I hate to say. So I actually had a member of my community 3D print. I wish I had it with me, I would show you, but it's a table. So just remember a table, the thought table. And a thought itself, that's like the base of the top of the table. So for a thought to stand, it needs 4 facts. And so when you have those thoughts, like everybody hates me, what are your facts? And facts are not feelings. And having a feeling multiple times doesn't make it a fact. No feelings are facts. What happened?
Yeah.
And so like that dinner party, did anybody ignore you on purpose? Did you see somebody be like, oh, her?
No.
Did anybody say, I can't believe you'd say that?
No.
We have to think about it and check our facts.
Yeah.
And it helps to put it in perspective for the things that we might be like misinterpreting.
Yeah.
Or at least overreacting. And so just think of that table. Can that table stand?
Yeah.
Can that thought? And because so often, and I'm just as guilty. I know better. I don't always do better. Like I'll have thoughts and I'll just accept them as fact immediately. That's like the normal process for most of us.
Yeah.
But when you come away from a situation like that, I just challenge you to be like, can this thought stand? Do I have facts?
Yeah.
That aren't feelings, that aren't perceived things, right? Because we get really good, I'm using air quotes, because we don't, it's like at reading the room through our anxiety lens.
Totally.
So we're like, oh, the vibe was a little off. I think they hate me.
Yeah.
That person didn't laugh at my joke. They think I'm stupid. Like we have like, when they could have been like thinking like, oh shit, don't forget to feed the dog or pick up that thing on the way home. And they missed the punchline. And there's so many other things that could happen.
I also struggle with like secondhand embarrassment and anxiety. Can you explain, like, is this even a clinical thing? Like, is this even like connected to social anxiety? I think it might be, but I get like the worst, like even it's a control thing, I think. But even if my boyfriend says something that like I wouldn't specifically say it. To my friend, he makes a joke and he's super sarcastic. now I have severe anxiety because what if my friend didn't take it the right way and blah, 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 it goes into a spiral.
I'm the same. We are the same person.
Okay.
I actually will say, because my husband is sarcastic, I'll always tell people that don't know him, I'm like, he's so sarcastic.
Yeah.
Like I say over and over to like assuage my own anxiety for what's about to come to fruition.
Literally.
Yes, totally. So this is fascinating to me. I don't know when I read this study, and I wish I could like cite the person because they did a great job. But there was a study about empathy. So you're an eldest daughter. I'm an eldest daughter. I think we're anxious. Yeah. So we tend to be more empathic, meaning that we feel for other people. Now keep that in mind, because they found that when we witness someone else do something that would be hurtful for us, embarrassing, anxiety provoking, devastated, we actually feel it the exact same way. The same part of our brain lights up. They even found that if we watch someone like trip and hit their knee, we feel it in our knee. Wow. And it shows the same responses in our brain as if we hit it.
That's crazy.
I know. So I say that because I think it kind of pertains here, that you get that secondhand, because you're watching it and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then you feel embarrassed because that's like, it's like it's happening to you.
Yes. And it makes me anxious. Like, it actually makes me anxious after. And then I'm like, don't say this, it's hurt their feelings. And then I ask the person, and the person's like, I'm fine, I don't really care. And I'm like, no.
But you're like, I care.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, please stop. Yeah,
I'm not glad that you can relate, but I'm comforted that you can relate.
Well, it's nice to know we're not crazy, right?
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, oh my God. Because it is, I hate that feeling because you don't have control.
Yes. And I'm a control freak. Like, I need to control the narrative. I need to control what's going on around me. So.
And that's anxiety too.
Yeah.
Hate to say it, but yeah, it's a
True.
piece of it.
Okay. Being on social media, I think like you have a unique perspective about this too. How has it made, or can it make, our social anxiety worse?
I think it's made it a lot worse because we can, quote unquote, feel connected without being in person.
Yeah.
And, people ask me in my life, they're like, oh, have you talked to insert friend of mine? And I'm like, yeah, but no, I just shared a meme with her. That's not talking, right? And I have a good friend, Dr. Ben Ryan, who he's a neuroscientist. He did research into connectivity in our brain. His new book is called Brains Need Friends. And it's a great book. Everybody should pick it up. But he talks about how that kind of contact is like junk food or like candy for our brain. It's like, it might feel okay, and then we quickly fall down.
Yeah.
Versus in person, those connections are actually like healthy, nutritious food for our brain.
Yeah.
And so I say that because I think that like social media has increased our anxiety, because I don't know if anybody else felt this way, but coming out of COVID, I was like, my social muscles like depleted.
Yes.
Like I couldn't even function. I'd be like exhausted. I used to be able to go to conferences, and I'd need to like go over to my room and like chill out before the final thing. But like I was like wiped after every event.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to take a break. Oh, I got to take a break. Like,
yes.
And so I think it has definitely made it worse because we're not, and this sounds bad to say it this way, but not forced to be in person. And I think we need that now.
I feel that like with social media, I definitely feel like, oh, I got my fix of like talking to someone, connecting to someone. But then I also layer that with the fact that I will make plans and then frequently either bail. Like, I tend to be a little bit flaky because of my social anxiety, because that day, if I don't feel up to it, in quotes, or whatever that means, like I can't get myself motivated. I just get anxious. I don't want to talk to that person. I just don't want to have to catch up. Like, it overwhelms me. What can you do in those situations where like I made a plan, I have a commitment? How do I talk myself off the ledge of being like, I'm really anxious, I want to bail?
We're going to have some coping skills, because I want you to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately that bailing like proves to your brain that, yes. And I know it's so annoying, and people are like, but then I'm like not listening to myself. And I'm like, yeah, because your self is lying.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. Like, anxiety is protective, but it's like it's almost like a fire alarm that goes off all the time for no fire. Right?
Yes.
And it's like we keep reacting to it, but then there's no fire. So your brain and body are like, I can't handle this. You could. You actually can. It's just telling you can't, and we have to find ways to combat that. So that might mean that if you know something's coming up, meditation is something that works for you, you should be doing more of that.
Yeah.
Or if you feel more soothed, for me at least, I know that like if I have a big thing that I have to do, or it's I call it like a brain drain. Like, let's say I have to record a bunch of stuff, I know that afterwards I'm not doing anything. Right. So you need to know yourself enough to give yourself those breaks where you can like relax and you can bring yourself back online.
Yeah.
But I want you to go anyway.
It hurts. It
I know, I'm
hurts.
sorry.
But
I say it with love.
It is true though, because when you avoid it more than I feel the muscle, you're totally right. COVID is an example, even just doing this podcast and not having recorded for so long and then having 10 guests on in coming weeks. It's like you retrain yourself to have that social muscle again. So
totally.
It hurts, but it is true. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me pick your brain for an hour.
Course.
I so appreciate it. And for anyone that's listening, first of all, I think you have like three books. How many books do you have?
Yes, I do. I do have 3.
So I want you to tell them.
They're behind me somewhere. Sure.
Give them a little.
I know.
I want you to tell them where, and everything is going to be linked on my website too. You'll have your own little section on my website so people can find you and all of your books. But where can everyone find you and your books and any help that they want to get after this episode?
You can find me on all social media. So my main YouTube channel is just Katie Morton, KATIMORTON. I do have 3 books. Are You Okay is my first book. Traumatized, about PTSD and understanding that, is my second. And my most recent, Why Do I Keep Doing This, just came out last December, is about the habits keeping us stuck and how do we get out of that. I talk about kind of like what we're talking about here, like people pleasing, perfectionism, and it's more me. That book is more about like my process, the things that I know better and don't do better. I also have a podcast, Ask Katie Anything, that comes out every Thursday. And follow me on all social media. Instagram, TikTok, it's just Katie Morton.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.